Daryl Morey was on a podcast this week. I think it was like DraftKings Network. I've never heard of this podcast before. No offense, but this is what he said when he was asked if the Sixers use AI, not Allen Iverson, like ChatGPT, when they're making team decisions.
When you're making a decision, and insert your favorite Sixers decision here, are you asking an LLM for their input?
So we two answers there. We absolutely use models as a vote in any decision, and how much of that decision depends on, how much the assumptions behind those models don't change, and their past success rate. So if you have a highly successful model for picking draft picks, and we think that the game, Evan hasn't changed the rules yet, and so the game isn't changed.
Evan Wash, who's in charge of the league office,
thank you,
of defeating you.
Yes. Then the models get a lot of weight in those decisions. It turns out LLMs do fairly well at prediction. They still are not beating human, like super forecasters they're called, like in Human Judgment Project talks about it. But they do add signal over just scouts and things like that. So we'll treat them almost like one scout. Now over time, if it's shown that they have a better track record than scouts, we might weight the LLMs or use multiple LLMs as one or two votes out of the process. So it turns out I'm building on a lot of things that Sentil knows, and that multi-model approaches can put you more on the decision frontier, the optimal decision frontier. And when I say that carefully, you get very similar accuracy with lower risk by using multi-model approaches. And so that's why we do that.
I would just like NBA Central to aggregate what Daryl just said, which is that he asked ChatGPT for help on trades.
Yeah, please not aggregate. No.
I'm just trying to, pay for my kids' tuition, Daryl.
Yeah, all right. We're asking NBA Central to aggregate it. Well, I'm going to aggregate it right now. This is a problem. This is like me in high school writing my essays with ChatGPT.
Dude. So here's the thing with this. I actually have no problem with them using like AI in the front office, because there is software that is like very good at like predicting outsources for like contracts and like seeing projections for year after year. Every company uses them to project things for their future. So I don't have no problem with them doing that. But using AI to flat out ask for trades and ask, is this a good move? It's honestly very embarrassing. You are an NBA general manager or like for front office president, whatever you want, whatever his role is. I don't even care to call him the right thing. Your job is to have the gut feeling and to know when to do certain things for trades. And you're asking a computer software to be your NBA GM. Like people say all the time, I don't see the AI taking jobs away from it. It's literally taking jobs right away right now. It's taking the job of an NBA GM that an AI computer could essentially run a basketball team. And probably with some of these idiots that do it, could probably be better anyway. But that's not the point. You're making decisions like that using AI and ChatGPT to ask, should we as the Sixers sign so-and-so to a contract? And he's like, yes, you should. He is a great player. He was an all-star in 2016. I just think it's honestly makes us look even worse than we are right now. But man, the Sixers right now are in a really tough spot. Has a product standpoint, like they're just not great. The whole Embiid situation just isn't looking good. The only light in the fire is if somehow they get a top pick in this upcoming draft. But honestly, I doubt that's going to happen. The NBA just doesn't want the process to work for cheating the system for all them years, and it's still not going to work to this day, probably. So who knows what's going to happen, but this is just flat out embarrassing to see from our general manager is using AI to run a basketball team, essentially.
Well, if the Sixers are going to use AI, so am I. Here's ChatGPT.
Oh, boy.
And let's see. The Sixers signed Joel Embiid to a massive contract extension this offseason. So, should the 76ers extend Paul George past his 5th year of his contract? And it gives you, his performance and health, the team needs, age and fit, championship window.
Jesus.
Conclusion: if Paul George is still playing at a high level and the 76ers believe he can contribute significantly during their championship window, extending him could be beneficial. However, the decision should also consider his injury history, the financial flexibility of the team, and whether they feel he still fits in the long-term vision of the franchise. If his performance or health is declining, the 76ers might decide it's better to explore other options in free agency or through trades.
To be fair, I don't need AI to tell me that every single thing in that conclusion right there. I know it from watching Paul George, that every single thing in there about his injury, how he used to be a great player. But like, man, something like this just seems so ridiculous that they actually, this seems like the answer for what they're trying to do right now, man. It's honestly embarrassing as a team.
Who should the 76ers draft for the top 6 pick in 2025? Let's see. So they need a wing player score.
I actually agree with
secondary playmaker. And so we got Cooper Flagg, Trey Johnson.
Trey Johnson's another one.
Cameron Boozer.
That's not how you spell Trey, and he doesn't go to LSU, but that's okay. Cameron Boozer's not in this draft, but that's okay.
RJ Jones.
I don't know RJ Jones.
Matas Buzelis.
Who's already on the Bulls. Good to know. Okay.
Here's your conclusion. If the 76ers land a top 6 pick, they should focus on a versatile player who can contribute both offensively and defensively, with a particular emphasis on perimeter defense, shooting, and playmaking. Cooper Flagg, probably the first overall pick, even though he's injured right now. Yep. Trey Johnson, who that's not how you spell it. Cameron Boozer, who doesn't exist, would all be excellent fits for the 76ers depending on their specific needs. The 76ers need a player who can help them in the short term and also grow into a key contributor in the long run as the championship window continues to open. Or it's really continuing to close, but
yeah. Again, I don't, and half these people are either in the league already or not in this upcoming draft.
Why does Daryl Morey trust you?
That's a great question.
I think Daryl Morey would be more likely to trust data, analysis, and insights rather than me personally. That is not true.
No.
That is, yeah.
I do provide reasoning and strategy. Oh my goodness, that's just. But yeah, that's our GM right now, using AI to help build a basketball team. So good for him, man. Let's see how it goes next year. I really think right now the Sixers are in a spot where they might have to make a major move, whether it's firing Daryl Morey or firing Nick Nurse, which at this point, as much as bad as Nick Nurse's team has been, I really don't think it's fully his fault, but they're just in a really rough spot right now, the Sixers. And I don't know what this team is going to do to turn back into the team that they were a couple years ago when they were almost going to the conference finals, almost going to the NBA finals. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Sixers.